great guest tonight, Josh Calloway of the 10th District, your state representative, covering Hardin County and Breckinridge County, portions of. And we're going to get into the dirty work that's ahead of us. and I'm talking dirty because we're going to be wearing out boots. We're going to be scooting and knocking on doors. And there's just so much to be talked about and so much more. So let's get into it. Mark, lead us off.
Well, welcome. First, let's just welcome Josh to the show. We're going to, I'm glad we've been able to hook up and you come over and see us. We've had Nancy Tate, our representative, on a handful of times, and I was really happy to hear that you wanted to come on.
Yes, sir. I'd actually reached out to Nancy. We were talking not too long ago, and I had seen you guys' show, and I told her, I said, I need to get on there with those guys sometime and talk about truth, because that's what y'all talk about, and that's been what my campaign was around, and the way I've tried to legislate.
We definitely don't mess around, that's for sure.
Well, our goal, our number one goal here is to educate people.
That's it.
One, it's what do these jobs do, right? So we want to talk about what does a state representative mean to, and we don't need to go into all that tonight because we've done that with Nancy, but there's aspects of it that people don't always, it's a big job. It's a big job with a lot of different layers. So I guess we, over time, we'll get all of it. But
onions have layers.
Yeah, that's right. Right. So we'll peel that back. We'll peel that onion back a little bit.
Just keep them going, don't you? Keep going. Got the
sometimes you have to just slice them and be done with it.
That's right.
But
that is true.
So
we should talk about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, so we just had the elections in yesterday for the state, for the statewide races, right? So we had Daniel Cameron. They finished up Tuesday. Daniel Cameron took the Republican nomination. Allison Ball took the auditor nomination. Mm-hmm. State treasurer went to Mark Metcalf, and then. Let's see, just off the top of my head, I should have had this.
Agriculture Commissioner.
Agriculture Commissioner was Jonathan Schell. Yeah. And who's the one I'm missing there? Secretary of State Michael Adams won was renominated again for the Republican Party. So,
and then one that gets skipped over because he didn't have any opponent was our the Attorney General. Russell Coleman.
Yeah, Russell Coleman. Yeah, because he wasn't in the. Yeah, he didn't have anybody running against him.
Yes, sir.
But that's going to be Russell Coleman. I think he's well known. People know him, and we've heard of him for years. And I think that he's going to be a really good. A really good Attorney General.
I believe he will. I've been with him several places out. Different events where he was speaking or campaigning. I really like what I hear from him, and then what he has done so far through his career has been very good. I really
think this group of candidates is a really strong group. I really think that Daniel Cameron is going to be the next governor. I don't see. I know that a lot of people, they talk about how Andy Beshear is so popular, but I don't think that it's. They really thought. If you look at the polls leading into Tuesday, Daniel Cameron was only supposed to get. What, 30%, 33%? Right. And he got 47, 48%, something like that?
I got to tell you, though, there were some other good candidates. I think Ryan Quarles ran a heck of a race. He did a ground game that was, phenomenal. And while Kelly Craft made a great showing in Meade County, all of them made a great showing in Meade County.
And those are opposites, right?
Yeah, completely.
Because her campaign was spend a lot of money.
They spent a lot of money.
His campaign was knock a lot of doors and get,
which he did.
Meet and greet people.
That's right. And you look at where they targeted as well was very interesting to see how it played out. And it appears that that the money that Kelly Craft spent kind of overinflated the polls a little bit, because she was really hitting it with digital media and commercials and things of that nature. And the end result didn't come out exactly like I expected to at all.
It is.
Well, here's a number for you guys. So I'm just taking a raw number, but the total number of voters just in the Democratic primary for the governor was 193,000 turnout voters. That's ballpark, assuming that there's some other calculations. But 193,303 is what I got from that race. And then just in the Republican turnout, and I'm just using one candidate because they only had two people against them, but Allison Ball's, there's 266 Republican 266,225
Yep.
Republican turnout. Now, if we get that kind of turnout in the general election, we have a good shot at the governor race. But
Yeah.
we've got to get the Republicans out
we
to
have
vote.
to.
And we have to beat the Democrats at their game because we have to get the early voting in.
Yeah.
You have to leave your job. You have to go in on Saturday in your counties. We got to do more publicity like we did in Meade County and just like you do in Hardin and Breckinridge
County.
Yes,
but we've got to get them going to these fairground locations. These
Absolutely.
and we got to get our county clerks, especially our Republican county clerks, to make more voting opportunities available, just like we did in Meade County. Because if we can do that, we can do what we did in Meade County, and we can flip the entire state. Like we've done
I
in the
agree.
House and the Senate.
I think that this race did show one thing, and the 2022 race, it's beginning to look like that money doesn't have as much as of an effect as it used to.
I think that's
that
true.
ground game, that face to face,
That's right.
people knowing who you are, I think is becoming
Shaking
more
hands.
and more important for these people to be able to get elected.
Yeah, I think that's I'm starting to call that Kentucky politics, right? Because
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, it seems that's the old that's the old recipe to get elected in Kentucky. is to
Kissing
make that-
babies and
getting
handing
it-
out lollipops.
And nowadays, there's more and more people. There's so many people who are paying attention. It used to be, the statistic when I first got in and started in politics. I went and took a campaign school. Right, I just went to one of the campaign schools, and they said that basically 86% of the people don't care until the last 2 weeks of the
Right.
election. I don't think that's true anymore. I think that it's probably about half the people have already made up their mind, right? And now it's like, so maybe you're really going after that that other 50% in those last few weeks.
But we've spent a lot of time, though, on that note, making sure that people are educated about all of the races.
Right.
Because it's
Yeah.
easy to get spun up on the gubernatorial race, but when you don't know what does the auditor do? What does the attorney general do? What does the
Exactly right.
agriculture? And we spent a lot of time, but we've had those candidates even on this show. As
Yeah.
small as this is, we get a lot of views that come after, Pillow Talk. They may not tune into us while we're talking right now, but I promise you, they'll play this over. You'll share it, like it, share it. Somebody will watch this conversation and it'll resonate.
And it picks up.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. I think the state treasurer race showed exactly what you said. So it was the strangest race of all of them for me because of the fact that none of the three candidates have very good name ID.
Yeah,
And-
I didn't know any of them.
It really, people were trying to get educated and find out who these people were. And people calling me the week before the election, the day of the election.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know these guys? And do you know anything about them? And trying to get information. And so I think that
Yeah.
people are starting to become more and more educated.
Sure.
And it's going to be up on the candidates to get out and make sure people know who you are, know what you're about, and you look them in the eye, shake their hand, and them to have that connection for them to vote
I will
for
tell you, out of the treasurer race, we had Mark on the show. He dialed in for a Zoom. We had Andrew Cooper Ryder, and then I don't think we ever met Olika.
No, we never did.
But if you listen to both of them, they had different things that they wanted to attack that I think are valuable to the party. Andrew Cooper Ryder talked about where we're wasteful spending on programs that violate Bill 150.
Right.
You know what I mean? Why are we spending money on researching boys, boy, girls, girl? You know, I can't help it. You can't make up your mind, but you're too young to be
Exactly
making that
right.
up. I'll go back to Andy Griffith. He got his brain all scrambled. You know what but anyway, that's an old story from another show. But if now we can get the Cooper Riders and then the Richard Heaths and then the Mike Malones and then the Kelly Crafts and the Ryan Quarles to get behind Daniel Cameron
Right.
with some of that money and some of that
Exactly.
FaceTime and that pool of those candidates, it's going to be important that we all get behind the ones that were selected
Yes,
in
it
this
is.
primary.
It absolutely is.
But speaking on the Bill 150, you had a lot of influence in that. I know you and Nancy had a lot of workings together, have a great relationship. Talk to us about your relationship with you and Nancy, our local representative, and how that's worked together for both of you with that Bill 150.
Yes, sir. Nancy ever since that I have been running, we actually ran together when she won the first time and I got beat the first time out.
Right.
And so we got to know each other on the campaign trail then and have stayed connected since that point. I got in the legislature, and this is what I would definitely say to Meade County, that you all have a treasurer over here in Nancy Tate.
Yep.
She is a fighter. She is somebody that does not back down. I tell her I say all the time, for you to be so short, every time she carries one of those big pro-life bills, she looks like a giant standing up on the floor and will not back down to the pressure, you know.
And that's what we send her there for.
That's exactly right. And so not everybody has that.
Yeah,
and
but
you guys do.
And we thank her for doing that. We thank you for doing that too, because you both took a hit from party leadership because you stood your ground representing your constituents. And I want to commend you. And if you don't know this, Josh and Nancy both got kicked off of a couple of committees because they stood their ground about Bill 150.
By Republican leadership.
By Republican leadership. And we've said, even on this show, that we will hold our leaders accountable because we don't want to happen to legislation that the Democrats did for numerous years. But that bill is a parental rights bill. And there was a lot of information that was left out of it and needed to be addressed when it was getting slapped together. And I think, Mark, you bring this up, but I think that a lot of that leadership problem is a maturity problem.
I think that we allowed the Democratic Party leadership for years and years and years to beat us down as Republicans, and I say allowed us, that we didn't really have a lot of choice in the matter. But I think that rubbed off as that's how politics are done, and it doesn't have to be.
That's right,
and that's what we need to make sure. I don't want to chastise Speaker Osborne or any of the other leadership. I just simply want them to understand that I think that there's a better way to do this. Allow some debate. Make sure that you allow people to be heard, because if you don't, that's going to create fissures in our party.
Yep.
And we don't want that. We want people to feel like they can at least be heard and get their point across, before these, for legislation or just. Sometimes it's just good to get it off your chest.
You
right?
can't have the my way or the highway, and dealing with problems because even though you're elected as a Republican, there's all those people that are Democrats. You represent them too. They are constituents, and some of them are voting for you guys.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think that's where our party gets hurt, because they're swing voters, and those swing voters, you guys are eating each other alive. I don't know, but let's talk about 150. I don't want to beat up on leadership either, but I think it's important that you continue doing that as a representative and hold your ground.
Right, and I would say to that very briefly is that the primary thing is that we allow the debate and we allow the dissent. That's important. And the other thing is that we represent 45,000 people each, and those people have to have a voice. And so when we get into legislation, right now, you look at the way that things are set up. We have rules that we go by. Nancy and I, we use the rules we were given. We didn't do anything outside of the rules.
That's right.
But a lot of those rules really pull the power in to just a select few people. And I think we just got to continue thinking about that. We need rules that allow everybody to have a voice, everybody to have a say, and everybody to be heard.
Yeah.
And then go work your relationships to get enough people on board with your idea and take it across the finish line, and know that when you get enough people, you can, and not one or two people closing the gate or shutting the gate.
So it's interesting that you said a key word, power, right? That's a lot of what the dissent is with the Democratic Party right now, is because everybody can clearly see that they only want power.
Right.
They don't really want to help anybody. That's why they've crippled the country.
Exactly right.
For their own personal gain. You see that right now in current elected officials.
Yes, sir.
And it's being exposed not at a fast rate. I was watching the news this morning. The fact that the retaliation against FBI workers that are supposed to be protecting us as citizens because they're whistleblowing the politics that's going on inside of a government entity versus upholding the law. I think it's very commendable for you to hold your ground, but I really think that 150 was something that needed to be done. I think that the work that went into it and final getting it passed, that's the bottom line. Y'all still got it passed.
That's right. And this is what happened in the beginning of the session. I think Nancy's mentioned that on here. There was some talk about we were going to clean up bills and do those types of things. And we had two things we wanted to go after. We want to address parental rights.
Yep.
Why you have to address those, it's beyond me, but that's where we are. And then we wanted to address the gender transition surgeries and treatments for minors to stop that from happening in the state.
Moving testimonies.
I made this statement in the very beginning of the session. I said, these social conservative issues are going to define our caucus.
Yeah.
And they're going to show where people are. And a lot of times we get to stop things, or we're pushing things back behind closed doors. And my goal, it looked as if that Senate Bill 150 was dead. At the time, we were running Senate Bill 5 that dealt with obscene material in the schools and a process for parents to get that removed. That was the bill that I tried to beef up, because they were literally gutting House Bill 470 that dealt with gender transitions in the Senate at the moment we were running House Bill or Senate Bill 5 on the House side. And so in my mind, I thought some of these bills we were going to walk away without addressing some of these important issues.
Right.
And so I filed several amendments to Senate Bill 5 that looked somewhat like Senate Bill 150, but I had actually filed House Bill 173. That was the bill that I filed that was a plethora of things that dealt with our school system and parental rights. And so what I did, I just took pieces of that, and I took the Senate Bill 115, which dealt with sexually explicit shows in front of children in public places, and I was trying to add those as amendments to Senate Bill 5, because the Senate president had went on Fox News that morning and touted Senate Bill 5. So my thought was, this bill's going to pass.
Piggyback.
It's going to pass. So let's make it as strong as we can and do as much as we can with it. And where we don't make it strong, we put people on the board in public and just kind of see where they stand at.
See, I think that's important. Now, first of all, we're a republic. We're not a democracy. I hate it when I hear the Democrats say that we're a democracy. No, we're a republic, which means you don't get to make up rules as you go along. You follow the laws that exist.
Right.
So creating laws for our state gives us those guidelines that we're supposed to stay within. And the reason why I say that is because I have a philosophical thought. Today there's an article from Caitlyn Jenner, who had her name changed legally. She went from male to female, right? According to her. But then any criticism of that alone, you are transphobic or homophobic or whichever phobic you want to throw.
Come up with
from that group, any negative connotation, you're transphobic. It's just like racism in America. Oh, you're white, you're racist. That's what the Democrats continue to do. But yet, Caitlyn Jenner is now criticizing a male who has transgender to a woman who's trying to become part of a sorority at a college in Montana. And she, he, her, it, whatever you want to call them, I don't care, but he right, wants to say that this dude is sexually perverted and only trying to get in there because of his own perversions because they're uncomfortable around him. Well, they're uncomfortable because he's a man who's trying to be a female in a sorority that's been full of women for numerous years. Prosecution rests, but how is it okay to determine who is trans and who is not trans because you're trans? I'm sorry, male, woman, let's stick to it. Let's move out. If that's where you want to go, don't push it on me.
Right.
And follow our laws.
That's right. And what we did with Senate Bill 150, that we were trying to make sure that at the very least, that minors would not go through this irreversible, irreparable harm. And there was consensus about that.
Right.
Where we had issues is about the penalties in regard to physicians and things of that nature. I'm on the other end. I'm saying if somebody does that to a child,
Child
if we would go,
abuse.
it's child abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we want to put the death penalty back for child abuse, I'm on board. That's where I'm at. When you have people that were like, well, the doctor's going to lose their license.
Especially
and,
the story about the young lady that came before you guys that was, she is mentally, messed up. It's her dad got all this accolade power, right? Because, oh, you're leading the way. And he was so encouraged to do this. You're doing such a good thing. And then this child is left with,
Yes.
with an inhumane life for the rest of her life.
And that right there is a big part of it. Parents are playing they don't realize how much of a role they're playing in these decisions on how these children are coming to these thoughts and things. It's like if you treat your and this is my belief, if you treat your son like a daughter, then they're going to be confused as they grow older.
That's right.
exactly right.
And now you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Oh, he was always that way, so he should just be a girl.
No.
Well, I'm starting to think. My point is, I'm starting to think that
It's
you
indoctrination.
You wanted a daughter.
It's
That's right.
indoctrination.
And this
Yeah.
is this. I made this statement speaking somewhere the other day, and somebody told me it was a little bit radical. But I made the statement. I said, what I am trying to do is that I want to craft policy to make Kentucky look like what I want my children and my grandchildren to grow up in. Why
That's
that's radical,
I don't know
but
why
that's
that's radical.
exactly what the Dems have been doing.
Yeah.
They have been pushing their societal ideas down our throat and forcing it upon us. And it's time that we say it's enough.
And
So,
here's the thing.
Go ahead.
We have 50 states, right? Kentucky should be able to, if the majority of Kentucky wants to live this way with these principles and these rules for society, then we should get to do that. As long as we're not like hurting people up and.
But we saw this in Right to Life. The money's coming in from outside
Well,
states with the influence.
of course it is. It is. But,
Yeah.
but that's the thing is that it shouldn't. I think that, maybe outside money shouldn't come into Kentucky elections. Maybe that's where we end up, because if you get rid of the money, a lot of this becomes just about what Kentuckians want. So maybe there's something about that we need to look at, because
Allison Ball. We'll talk to her.
Well,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
the Senate Bill 150, it did address that. So we were able to address the gender transition surgeries and the puberty blockers, things of that nature.
I think it's fantastic because I'll tell you right now, I have 3 littles now. I've had them since December. They're family members. And it was an unfortunate situation, but they're in great graces. But the rules I have to follow just to keep them in the foster and then to the adoption
Yes.
and then after adoption and all the way until they're grown adults is far fiercer than what they've done to these children that have
That's
been
exactly right.
influenced. It's
unreal.
ridiculous.
It's unreal. We actually, in that bill, we addressed a few other things as well. We also dealt with inside of the school system. There was this ideology and guidance that was come down from the Kentucky Department of Education. Basically said for the school district, if they had a policy, they could have a policy. And they said in their guidance is that we strongly advise that if a child wants to be called by a different pronoun or a different name
They don't get
associated
that
with their
choice.
gender, that you do that as a teacher and not tell the parent. So we wanted to address that issue.
No, I'm
as
glad
well.
you did. Yeah, but
So
no,
we did.
that's not your choice. I'm sorry. That's yeah, no. And I think the work you did with Senate Bill 5-2, phenomenal. Just a quick question though. You talk about schools. Schools have a lot of power, and they get a lot of
Yeah.
money from the
Yes,
state.
sir.
And that's where I wanted to go next too.
I don't, with school choice, I have a choice where these kids go because
Yes,
I'm
sir.
afraid of what they're going to learn in these schools because of the limits that the resistance y'all got just in doing those 2 bills within the school districts and the unions and everything else that y'all are up against. And I know that a lot of teachers are, it's like, okay, I'm in the union because I feel like I have to. If I don't, I'm
Right.
I'm ridiculed for my beliefs. And we know a lot of teachers that are Christians and they teach right here locally and,
Yes,
and
sir.
we support them. However, the influence that comes in those schools do you think there's ever going to be a day where private schools get some of that money that do a better job? I can tell you right now that private schools I'm just going to give you a military perspective. I've been in recruiting for over 24 years for our United States Army. 24 of my 32 years recruiting. And I will tell you that the kids that come from private school score higher on the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test, ready to serve our Army. More of them qualify than those coming out of public schools. Education alone is much better, but it's also the type of values that I want my kids to learn coming from those.
Their education is focused on education. It's not focused on social.
That's right.
And that's the thing.
But do you ever think that there will be a day that comes with the school choice that we see some of those, like I pay school tax, do you see where some of that could go to private schools? I'm not putting you on the spot.
No,
but
absolutely. This is a passion of mine. I carry the school choice bills. I did last session. House Bill 174 was a bill that I carried. The problem that we have is this activist court system that we have at the Supreme Court level has pushed back on everything that we have tried to do in regard to school choice.
So it's going to take a
but if you
it's
make
going to take a constitutional amendment. And I ran it last year. We got it out of committee. There was some thought process about whether or not we should pass it because it was going it will go on the ballot in November of 24.
Do you think if Daniel Cameron gets governor, he'll help push that?
He's going to help push it. I've had that conversation with him.
Good.
And he has agreed to help push it. It will be a priority of the 2024 session.
I got goosebumps, man. I'm like J-Lo on freaking American Idol, man. Look at I got goosies.
It's going to be a priority. We will probably see that bill. The school choice bill will probably be like House Bill 1, 2, 3, 4 next session. Most likely, I'll be carrying that bill.
How many of the Republican and Democrats are on board with that?
Well, this is what I will tell you. We had 38 co-sponsors, the most we have ever had
in a bill.
In regard to school choice. We actually got it out of committee, and I believe we had the support to pass it.
Sure.
It's a constitutional amendment, so it's going to take that constitutional threshold of 60. It's not, the governor can't veto it. And so I believe that we will have the numbers to get there. We've seen a huge shift, and it's actually become politically expedient to support school choice. And that's been a lot of politicians' issues in the
What
past.
is the, so the threshold, what's the threshold for an amendment?
60.
So 60. It's out of 100, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the House.
Yes, sir.
And then the Senate is, how many is there in the Senate? I can't remember.
There's 38.
38 senators.
Okay. So, and is there what's the threshold over there? Same thing, 60% basically?
Percent, yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think we're there. Again, it's going to be a priority. We're probably within, in my mind, and I've talked to a lot of members, within 2 or 3 votes of it right now.
Now, the Constitution, anytime we do a constitutional amendment, though, it's got to go out to the voters of the state,
right.
though. That's the problem, right? So
that's it.
And then it's a straight 50 plus 1%? Is that
yes,
what
sir.
it is?
And
but our fight then becomes all of the outside influence that comes into our state to tell us. So you'll get all the national
and debunking all the lies
and all the unions, and the debunk. So how do we beat that?
Okay, so
y'all need to put a law in before you put this in that says if you
Can't
are not
spend money here,
if you're not from this state, that not one dime can be spent in marketing or advertising to go against a bill that achieves a statewide amendment or for a constitutional amendment. If you are not from this state, you don't have. But they'll just go make an LLC in the state.
That's right.
Well,
there's ways they'll get around that.
Or 501c3.
C3,
Yeah.
Well, they have to. Well.
They'll get somebody who's from the state.
It would have to be some sort of in-state PAC.
What they'll do is all they need is a resident of the state, and they use that resident to establish the 501c3.
They'll find a way to do it.
And that person is the proxy.
They'll find a way to do it. But this is the interesting thing about this particular topic. So everybody is still fresh in their mind in regard to the 2 amendments that just failed.
Yeah.
That was a lot of discussion. And part of the reason why we didn't run the constitutional amendment this session was because that was still in people's mind. And people think, well, we can't get constitutional amendments passed. If you go back and look over the last 40 or so years, like 73% of them have passed. So historically, we do a good job at it.
Yeah.
And then it's not a good comparison when you look at the polling, the public polling in
Sure.
regard to the life issue versus the school choice issue. School choice does poll better with
Sure.
the public, so it's going to be about education. And we have some groups across the state that are pumped about putting money into an education campaign to
Yeah.
make sure people know what they're voting for. We have worked very hard on the language to make it within the first sentence so everybody understands.
Yeah.
And this was my goal, and this is what I said. It sounds very simple, but I basically said, if we could make the sentence something like, do you think fuzzy kittens are cute? Or something
Now,
so
you're
easy
doing-
that
you're doing
people are just
marketing.
like,
So-
yes.
So you're
but
talking
that's
marketing.
exactly what it is.
You're talking marketing. So, Representative Calloway, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
I know how we can win this state. We have the formula. You know how we do it? We do it just like
That's
this.
it.
But I need every party that has a Facebook account and has a TikTok or a Twitter account to post and repost, and we can do this without costing anything. Because
Yes, sir.
we
Yeah.
will deliver the message, but we got to get everybody's rabbit ears up, and we know we can connect with them through social media. You know, we get our best tune when people are doing pillow talk and they get this news feed up, and then they pop it and then they watch it.
Absolutely.
You know, we can do all kinds of things, and coming from a marketing background, having to do the toughest job there is probably in the Army outside of combat, and that's going and talking into the American home and convincing moms and dads that their kid could join the Army.
Exactly.
So if we can do that, and we can flip a county, we can flip an entire state if we just get
Yes,
the
sir.
word out.
And that's the key. People have to be educated. And we have seen in the last couple of years, I think people are waking up
Yeah.
to a lot of what is going on. But we also have this issue of people that are disengaged because they don't trust the system. They feel like things happen in 2020 that
that's
were
where
nefarious. And we have to keep them engaging in the system.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why we're here, because if we educate people about the system, tell them the truth so they understand, then that makes your job easier.
Yes, sir.
So I
And
mean,
so-
you're connect. This is like door knocking on 1,000 homes right now, right? This is. We don't have commercials. We're not getting paid to do this. We're having a conversation. Most people appreciate the conversation than they do. Hold, stay tuned while we come back. Hold on. This just in, our next episode, we're going to talk about sewer and water treatment facilities. No,
Yeah.
Exactly.
but you get this type of message out.
Speaking of which, by the way, we forgot to put our phone number out there. So
Oh, yeah, if you wanna call Josh.
270-945-3418 if you all want to call in. We're gonna I mean we're running a little over our normal time. We started a little late today, and so we're gonna keep going here for a little bit. But if you all
And
want to call in,
Yeah, Bobby Coleman is in. She's talking about 60%. Bobby, I want to say thank you for tuning in. She says, amen, constitutional republic. That's right. So she
Absolutely.
was listening in. If
Great
you're still on
lady.
there. But yeah, so she's listening to you. So
Good deal.
absolutely. So listen, I want to go into the budget a little bit. You guys are coming into the next session, right? You got a lot of time to spend rubbing elbows. We got a general election, and then boom, you guys are in session, right?
That's right.
And then you're going to be gearing up because you got a brand new governor
And, campaign next year, too. So
Hey,
we're all back on the ballot.
Yeah,
all in the same year. So.
Giddy up, Buttercup, right?
That's right.
So I keep telling Mark, I said, well, I guess I better get started because it's going to be an uphill battle because there's a lot of people probably going to go for that seat, for Mitch's seat. So
yeah.
Better get ready.
I don't know. I think I got it. I think I got this in the bag. I don't have to do nothing. But I don't have to
know what
do
bag
nothing.
you're carrying. But
All I have to do is do a whole bunch of radio ads and newspaper articles.
There you go,
I'm
and
just
you're
kidding.
in.
That's it. No, it's not. That's not it, folks. That is not the truth. I'm teasing.
Yeah, that was definitely tongue in cheek there.
That
so.
was totally tongue in cheek. I was kidding. But anyway, so the budget, going into that, a lot of work. So talk to us a little bit about that and where you think we're going to go with that budget with the next legislation.
Right. So we just actually lowered the income tax rate for
4%?
personal income tax to 4%. So the goal is that we continue that work. So we're doing tax modernization. We're actually already started on road plan work. So we're doing a lot of discussion about that right now. Having meetings with our budget chairman, Jason Petrie, who is
Sure.
the chairman of that committee, has done a phenomenal job with the budget
Very
and
good.
trying to get us on track. there's a couple priorities. One priority of mine is that we have to continue to drive revenue and get ourselves off of the federal government. States' rights are so important, but the reason we struggle with a lot of that is because we're so beholden to the federal government financially.
We are, and that I'm going to tell you right now, as a voter, I'm concerned for you guys. Right now, I made my choice to make Kentucky my home, and I know why I made it my home, because there's good people here. But we are last. And if you ranked us in the 50 states, we are in the last 5 to 10 states that are last in education, last in economic value. We are completely dependent on the federal government. That's why they love that, right? The Democrats love that we're dependent on the federal government, because we can't do anything ourselves. And that's not true. We have great people in Kentucky that have much value to industry.
Absolutely.
And there's no reason, and if we get coal back going, I'm just saying, we
just have to make sure that we just have to make sure that we make Kentucky economically viable to companies to come here and put their we talk about Nucor here.
Yeah,
that's great.
Battery plant.
The battery plant down in Hardin County. That's great.
You've got Ford making frames here. You got all kinds of.
But we have to. How do we move? We have to look at something that I like about what Judge Koch's doing is he's not looking at the 5-year plan. He's not even looking at the 10-year plan. He's looking at the 17-year plan, because people who are born today are 17 years old. When they're 17, what's the county?
That's exactly right. And I think that's key to what we are doing right now. And we actually just came out of a budget with the largest surplus that this state has ever seen. That's part of the reason why we have been able to attract some of this industry and work with taxes. And so that's key. I think getting off the federal government so that when we have our own natural disasters and catastrophes, that we can handle our own problems internally, and then making it a place for people that they want to live in, that the personal tax structure is good for their life, that we have good school system that they are comfortable putting their children into, that we have communities that are safe, and those types of things. So it's the total package that we have to make sure that we do with the budget, and attract people to want to come here and keep people here that are currently here.
Well, I tell you what, I'm absolutely, every time I talk to a new person that comes here to Kentucky, right from the military side, I say, what are your plans after you retire? You plan on staying here? You should. I said, right now that you're worried because you want to go to Texas or Florida because you don't have state income tax. I said, in 5 years, we might be at 2%, maybe 0. Don't know, but it's down to 4, and it's dropped 2% in the last couple of years, or 1.5%.
Yeah, 1.5.
And I said it's going to be 4% next year. The tax burden is not that bad given the culture. You have
That's right.
You have family. You have great culture in this state. We welcome all walks of life in this state. We treat people with dignity and respect.
That's right.
At least most Republicans and a lot of Democrats that I know do. There are still some.
There's a few.
Well, there's some everywhere.
Problems. We have some problems, but that's why we maintain law enforcement, and we don't turn into some of these other states. But to that point, this is starting. People are starting to see that, and I sell it all the time, not because I'm a salesman, because I believe it. I live it every day. I mean, Mark. He sees me all the time. He's like, dude, do you ever stop? And I'm like, no, I'm not.
I'll say I've had opportunities to move to Texas and work, to move to Florida and work. I've had opportunity to move to North Carolina and work. This is where I want to be.
That's right. It's priceless.
I grew up in Ohio County till I was 15. Then I moved up to Breckinridge County. I've been there my whole life. I've lived on the hill that I live on since I've been married, so going on 25 years.
Wow.
I've raised 5 children there.
I wish I could say that, but you don't get that option in the military life. Sorry.
That's right. But I started a transitional living home. I house men that are coming out of jail, coming off drugs, and help them get on their feet, help them get a job.
Brilliant.
We need more of this place, and so we want to make it as good as we can. And when I campaigned, that's what I campaigned on: the future of our children. This is what we're trying to do with Kentucky.
And that's what we have
to do.
As conservative Christians, if when we say that we're trying to that we're against certain things, we're also for taking care of those things. We're against the government
taking care of them.
taking care of those things.
Community.
But we, as a community, we need to step up and take care of those things and those people. And that's what we're really talking about. I don't want us to take the tax burden and put a tax burden on our kids and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren for things that we should be taking care of as a community ourselves now.
That's right.
Nancy and I worked on a bill to make it better, a bill that dealt with transitional living and rehabilitation centers. And this is what I said many times and said to our caucus. It's not the government. It is communities. It is churches.
That's right.
And compassionate people, the 3 C's. Those 3 things right there are the answer to what's going on in our society. If they step up, we'll help people.
That's right.
And we'll put our communities like we want them to be. The government's never going to have the answer to it.
There's a reason why those people get tax breaks. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And that's where that's where all the love is. So I look. There's nothing I could disagree with that you've said tonight. And I hope the energy that you carry. I feel your energy here tonight. Yeah. And it ain't the Diet Mountain Dews. I mean, Mark and I get all jacked up on Mountain Dew. Yeah. We're like a spider monkey. But,
yeah, we go. We play softball tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have to get built up for it.
I know.
It's exciting stuff. I mean, the making a difference in the lives of people.
Sure.
And it's really, it is very liberating for me.
Sure.
The fact that I do not care if I get reelected allows me to just do what's right.
We know
do what I'm
like
supposed
that.
to do. And that is, it's great to be able to do that. And I told somebody about the school choice bill. I said, it doesn't matter to me if I carry the football across the finish line, if I'm throwing it to the guy carrying it, if I'm on the sideline cheering somebody, or if they tell me about it in the locker room. It's good policy, and we just need to do it. It's not about making a name for yourself. It's just about doing the right thing.
So, Representative Calloway, you ran for office, you lost, you ran again, you win. You had expectations coming into this, selfless service. You're here now. One sentence, what would describe the overall satisfaction you have from all of the ups and downs? Take a deep breath. One sentence.
I think overall, to see young people's minds and hearts protected, that has been the biggest piece of impact that I feel like I've been able to have.
Sure.
And it's probably the greatest battle I have fought, and it's the thing that I will continue to fight the hardest for. The mind is the gateway to the heart. Mm-hmm. God uses the mind to deal with the heart, and this society is after the minds of our kids.
It is.
And the fact that we were able to make a bill that says you cannot teach gender identity and those types of things from kindergarten to 12th grade, nowhere else is that in the country, is important, because the mind, not because and people say it all the time, well, it's a minority, that's 1%. It's about the minds of our children. Yeah. And I think being able to do that is the most fulfilling thing that I've been able to do.
I think, well, again, that's why they call you honorable, right? When you get elected, you are the honorable Representative Calloway. Mark, on Meade County has done a lot of stuff. I think we've had an excellent last year and a half. We've met so many people through this platform. I'm glad to bring you in. I know Mark was telling me about it. I was like, are you kidding me? Heck yeah, let's go, man. Yeah. I think we got we got a couple of opportunities coming up again. The county fair that's going to be
this weekend, everybody, we're having the we're not going to be down there. The show's not going to be down there, but we're going to have a booth down at the Bicentennial.
That's right.
This weekend so it's the Meade County Bicentennial, 200 years of Meade County.
Lincoln Trail. That's right. Big deal.
Good job.
And so we're having our big celebration this weekend. It's going to be down at the river. There's going to be a parade Sunday morning or Saturday morning, and then they'll have booths and things and lots of fun stuff down at the river. So come out and check us out at the booth and just say hi. Mm-hmm. And then also, as you were saying, the Meade County Fair is coming up. Mm-hmm. That's the last full week of July.
Have a complete booth. We'll have a studio set up so people can come by and engage.
That's right. Yeah, so we'll have guests. Maybe you can come by at the fair and sit in with us for a day. And but we'll generally have we're working out candidates right now, trying to get all the candidates, the statewide, to come down and spend a day with us at the fair. It's Meade County Fair is one of the largest fairs, if not the largest fair in county fair in Kentucky, and it's they're going to have 36 to 40,000 people come through there that week. So
hopefully 50,000 this year.
Well,
and no rain.
They never had 50,000. I don't think. I think the closest.
Well, because of Meade Truth, it's going to change. I'm being positive.
I see.
What is it? Optimistic. I'm going to be extremely optimistic. So.
Yeah. And then I'm hoping that we're gonna shore it up, and I think we're going to be down at Fancy Farm again for
I love it. Yeah, so
in August. So,
and we are crossing our fingers, but we're hoping that Fancy Farm might even be a little bit more attention in the upcoming years. So, if
hopefully.
We keep our seat there, it would be a front row center seat to some really great.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you this: I've actually just started a little outreach podcast type thing as well, so I would love to have you guys on.
Sure.
I want to share what you're doing, and this has been my whole goal.
Sure.
We got into a couple situations in this session where the other side was able to mobilize people just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally find out about things in the middle of the night, and the opposition is mobilized, and they're there, and their voices are being heard. We struggle with that on our side some. And so every little avenue like this that we can inform people and get them engaged.
If we could get every little Republican Party chapter to just synchronize, right, all of these broadcasts and get this, if we could just get one group that's one voice, and then it's the platform that everybody pops and tweets and stuff. I mean, Mark and I are not trying to promote ourselves or anybody, but this platform has done a lot, and it can do a lot for our
truth. That's what we're promoting.
We could do this on a statewide level, and everybody could have full access to be able to do the same thing. Like you said, you do your own podcast. It's social media. We're not as good at it as our Democratic Party was in the years before us. They're looking to use social media influencers. Well, there's nothing stopping us from creating our own level of influence and dragging as many people and following as many people as can to grow our following. And the minute that, like you said, you could mobilize, we could do one of these the minute the word got out, and we could instantly broadcast, because we're not beholden to any type of company or entity.
That's right.
We speak for the party, we speak the truth, and we absolve any negativity that's related to racism, phobias, or any of that.
We don't get into any of that as far as we're not against people.
No, we're not.
Right, but we are against indoctrination. We are against we're for our children, making sure our children can grow up in safe environments. And that's not meaning we're against people.
We're for the Republic.
We're for the Republic. We're for the people of our county, and for
because the truth makes you free.
That's right. It does. So what is your site? I mean, where can they find their podcast?
So it's on YouTube. It's Josh Calloway, State Representative.
Okay.
And I'll share yours, and then you'll see where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter as well.
Okay.
At Josh Calloway for Kentucky. And just kind of got into doing some broadcasting. We're doing some recording and trying to get some little pieces of specific truth out in shorts and bring people in that way, so that people have a place at least that they can be notified. You get them subscribed, you get them engaged, and then have a way you can notify them immediately. You need to call your legislator.
Exactly right.
We need you in Frank. Whatever the case may be, we can engage them.
That's exactly what we did with this. We'll be able to help you any we can.
We actually have three arms on this. We have Meade Truth, the podcast, which is the conversation on the Meade Truth. And then we have meadtruth.com, which is like a newspaper style online newspaper. And then we also print. I don't know how much you've seen that. We actually print newspapers and send them to every door in Meade County.
Nancy has shared one of those with me before, so I've seen what y'all do. And that information is invaluable.
Especially in the last 2 weeks before the election. So
I mean, we're trying to just let people see who these people are. But the first thing we do is we say, this is what this position does for you. This is who.
These are who are running.
Yeah.
They write articles.
It's important. Why is it important to you? And then these are the people that are running, and these are the people that we think you should support.
Yeah.
So
that's great what y'all have done here with Meade County and flipping all the different positions over here and seeing people get engaged. It's been awesome. And what you're doing here it's phenomenal. It's what we have to get people engaged at the day-to-day, door-to-door level.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we get them engaging this way, talking to people that they just know in the community and they're hearing from them, they get informed, they're going to do the right thing, I believe, as a majority.
You're absolutely right.
I believe exactly the same. If you give people the true information, they'll make good decisions. Right.
I'm going to give you a better phrase. Not just the truth, the humanity. If you give people the humanity, the general sense that we're not here selling you a bill of goods, that we're trying to influence power, that we are human and we have a thought, and we believe that you have a thought and that we could talk about it.
Right.
And somewhere in there is a compromise to seek the truth that supports the republic, that brings us together as a community, doesn't divide us.
Yes, sir.
Because a country divided will fall.
I say it all the time that we elect one of us to represent us.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's all we are, is one of you, and that's our job, is to go represent you as you.
Yeah.
And the majority of votes that comes, and we stand on our principles, we stand on our convictions, we don't compromise, but at the end of the day, we're representing you all.
That's right.
You sure are, and we're glad to have you here in our studio.
Appreciate you coming
Thank you
out
for the invite. I appreciate it.
This has been a great
been
show.
great.
It's a pleasure and honor to get to meet you. Thank you for the great work
Good to
you
meet
do.
you all. Thank you.
I know it's not easy to always agree, but to work with the constituents and then the fellow representatives, just commend you, Nancy, and anybody that runs for those offices that's sitting in those seats.
Yeah.
And we pray for our leadership.
Every day.
We hope that they find the wisdom they need to bring it together. Mark, take us home.
I think that, I think you've said everything we need to say. But, guys, we're going to be out here next week. I think, are we back on next Thursday?
Well, you will be. I'm in D.C.
Okay, so
no, actually, I'll be back Thursday. That's right. We will be back Thursday.
Yeah, so we'll be back on Thursday night. I don't have a guest for next week yet, but we're going to work on it. So we'll see.
Maybe I'll get one from the plane ride.
Yeah, maybe. You never know.
I laterally sat behind Mitch
gonna...
McConnell there and back on my last trip to D.C. So
that would definitely be a big show. So so anyway, everybody, thank you for listening to us. Thanks for again, Josh, for you coming out and spending some time with us, letting us get to know you a little bit, and it's been a real pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for your time, and like and share, please like and share. If you all have if any of you would like to volunteer for the Meade County Republican Party, give me a call, 270-945-3418. We'd love to have you come join the team.
And you don't even have to just volunteer. You just come and hang out.
Sometimes.
Meet your fellow Republicans, and if you're a confused Democrat or an independent and want to know what we're trying to do or what we want to do or what our values are, we hold our meetings the third
Monday of each month.
So come out, hang out. And we can disagree and we can agree, but at the end of the day, you're going to find a lot of love from this group. So have a great night.
Good night, everyone.